Hey friends, want to learn how to make your own cozy knit cardigan even if you're a beginner? My name is Rachel Alford from Cozy Nooks Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to make the Triple Cord Cardi, which is a super easy beginner knit pattern. You want to know the best part about this cardigan? It's a free pattern. I'll link the free pattern below in the description, and it's also a Lion Brand yarn kit, so you can get all the yarn that you need to make the cardigan, and you can customize the colors. So stick around and I'll show you how to make the Triple Cord Cardi, this free knit pattern that's perfect for layering. These are the materials needed to make this project. You're going to need Wool-Ease DK yarn. This is the color olive that I used for the cardigan, but for some of the demo I'm going to be using a different color, and the name of that color is right here. I will also be using 4.0 millimeter knitting needles on a 40-inch circular, as well as 3.5 millimeter knitting needles on a 40-inch circular. So I'm going to be swapping it out for these interchangeable needles. You'll also need double pointed needles, 3.5 millimeter, to be able to make the I-cord, or you can use this machine here, which is very easy to make I-cords using it that way. I actually did that for my I-cords because it just works up so fast that way. You also need a tapestry needle, scissors, and stitch markers. And make sure you pull up the free blog post, which you can find here, so you can find the correct yardage that you need for the size you are making. And then that way you can have the free pattern up next to the video so you can find your specific instructions for your size. So for the first half of this project, I'm going to be making a small sample size, and then the latter half of the project I'm going to be showing you on the actual full size sample that I made. And that's just with how timing worked out. That's how I needed to show and demonstrate this cardigan. So that's why there will be color differences in different sizes shown. Okay, so for this small sample size, I'm just going to be I'm going to start by just casting on 10. That obviously is not the correct number to cast on, but it's just going to be able to allow me to show you how to make it. So I'm using the 3.5 millimeter knitting needles right now, and I'm doing the long tail cast on. You can do whatever cast on method you prefer. So this is working the collar of the cardigan. And so to begin, after we've cast on the desired stitches that we need, we're going to work the knit 1, purl 1 repeat. So we're going to knit this first one, and then purl 1. And we're going to do that all the way across. And that's going to be it's called 1x1 ribbing. And this is going to create a nice clean collar for us. The reason why we're using the smaller needles is because typically ribbing looks better in size down or 2 from what the actual project calls for the main body. Here's our last repeat, knit and purl. Now working it again for row 2. So let's get started. You can see for row 2 we have our first stitch is a knit, and then our second one is a purl. So we're just going to knit the knits and purl the purls. So the same repeat, and we're going to do this for 9 rows total. And then we're going to switch our needles to the larger size and then start working the yoke. So I will meet you back up when we are there. So I have switched my needle size to the larger needles, and now I am on row 12 of the yoke, and I'm ready to do my first round or row of making one right. I have a full video tutorial on how to do that with in-depth details of it, and I'll put that down in the description if you want more details, but I will show you how to do it here as well. So first we're going to knit 2, 1, 2, and now we're to our first make one right. I'm gonna, so pulling the piece apart, you can see this bar right here down below. I'm gonna stick my left needle under that bar like this, and then I'm going to knit. And that's my first make one right. And we're going to continue doing this until we have 2 stitches left. So here is my last repeat. Grab that bar down below and knit it. I have 2 stitches left on my needles, and so I'm just going to knit these 2. That is how you do row 12. So we're going to continue doing that on down until we reach row 1 of the main body. Here I am with my small sample size ready to do row 1 of the main body. So to just orient yourself on what this small sample is, you can see this is our neck, and so this is going to be folded around the body, and this is the front and the front of the cardigan. Let's do row 1 of the main body together. This is where we are going to divide. We're going to split for the sleeves and put some stitches on hold and then start working the main body. So to begin, it says, well, so in the pattern it says to knit 39, 45, 47, etc., depending on your size. So go ahead and jump to the pattern on the free blog post if you're wanting to know the specifics for your size. For my small sample, I am just going to knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I need to place 5 stitches on hold. So I like to use dental floss for this. I find that, oh, it's a brand new dental, my kids, my kids brought me the dental floss. I asked them to help me and it's a brand new one. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna put this dental floss on my tapestry needle, and then I'm gonna thread it through 5 stitches. Grabbing 5 stitches that haven't been worked. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You are obviously going to be doing much more than just 5, but this will help demonstrate how to make this. So these 5 stitches are on hold, and now I'm going to cast on 2 stitches using the backward loop method. So taking my thumb and going around the yarn to create this little loop, and then I'm going to place it on my right needle. So that's 1 and 2. There are my 2 cast-ons. And then the pattern says that we now need to knit a certain number. For the small sample, I'm just going to knit 12. And then I'm going to get those darn floss out of the way. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 11, 12. So you can see this is starting to take shape a little bit better. You can see the little armhole we made. So we aren't going to work these stitches, and then when we're done with the main body, we're going to pick these stitches back up and then work the armhole. So now we need to place 5 stitches on hold again, grabbing my dental floss, thread it onto my tapestry needle, and grab 5. 1, 5. And then we're going to cast on 2 again. Your pattern is different, so make sure you check the pattern. Okay, so now we're going to cast on again. So taking my thumb and wrapping it around the yarn and then placing it onto my needle. Again, and placing it on my needle. So there's my 2. And now I have the remaining stitches I need to knit. My sample is just 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you can see we have our 2 little armholes that we made. If we're looking at it this way, we've got our little armholes. So now we're just going to work the main body. Work the main body and hem as shown in the pattern. We have done these steps together for the collar, so I didn't show it on camera, but it is just working stockinette stitch and then working the hem in a 1x1 ribbing. You can see these are my sleeve stitches I put on hold. This is the, let's see what front, left front. So I am going to take my needles and I'm going to pick up all these stitches back on, and I'm going to put them back onto my needles using this circular. And then we're going to talk about the corners and the back loop cast on stitches we did for the underarm. So let's meet back up once I have all these stitches back on my needles, and we'll talk about this portion together. I've placed all of the stitches back onto my needle, the ones that were resting, that we weren't working. So let me show you how to pick up these stitches from the underarm. This is our last stitch. You can see, here, let me zoom it in a little bit. If I'm looking at the column of stitches that this last stitch is worked from, you go to the column next to it, so this column right here, and you're going to follow it up, and this is the corner stitch that you're going to pick up right here. So you can see this is the column that's next to this column, and then you're going to pick up 2 strands. So these 2 strands right here. So I'm going to insert my needle into there, grab my yarn, and then I'm going to pick up a stitch. Now if I rotate my work so that I can look at the underarm, you can see the 5 stitches for the bind off, or the backward loop method. So you can see this stitch is already worked. So it's this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are our 5 stitches. So going into this one right here, picking up 2, I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again, look at the pattern, pull up the free blog post so that you can correctly pick up the right number of stitches for your size. All right, so now we are to our next corner. So you can see following this column right here, following it up, I'm going to insert my hook under the 2 strands and then pick up the stitch like that. So now I have my 75 stitches that I need, and I am going to place a stitch marker. Oh good, I have one handy. I'm going to place a stitch marker indicating the start of my sleeve round, and then I'm going to begin by just knitting around for the sleeve. And I'm using the magic loop method because the sleeve is small enough that I can't use my 16-inch circular needles easily. So that's how I'm going to knit the sleeve, and we will meet back up for when we do the decreases for the sleeve and the cuff. To start decreasing for the sleeve, we're going to change our needle size. We're going to size down to the smaller needle. So in the pattern, it says a size 4, 3.5 millimeter needle, and so you will need that for the cuff. So this is the start of my row. That indicates the start of my round. I only have 3 more stitches on this needle for the magic loop, and that's why it's looking a little wonky right now, but don't be confused by that. To do the decreases, you're going to need to look at the pattern to know how many decreases. Well, you're going to do knit 2 together all the way around. Some of the sizes will end up with one extra stitch. So you just knit that stitch rather than knit 2 together at the end. So just look at the pattern to know what your size indicates. So to knit 2 together, what you're going to do is you're going to look at these 2 stitches here, and you're going to insert your needle into both of them, both stitches here. And then you knit them as if they are one. And that is how you do the knit 2 together. Like that. This one's a little wonky because I have the magic loop method. So I'm just putting it on this needle for right now, and then I'm going to transfer it over to this needle so that I can knit 2 of them together. So just transferring that one back over. Okay, so now we're going to pretend like these next 2 stitches are 1 stitch, and we will knit them together just like that. Let's do it one more time together. So 2 stitches, treat them as 1. And so I will show you what we're going to do on the next round, round 104, when we do the ribbing. The ribbing for the cuff, we're just going to start by knitting 1. So I just knitted 1. Now I'm going to need to purl the next one to do my 1x1 ribbing. There's my purl. Now we need to do a knit and a purl. So you just continue on in this fashion. We're going to do it until row 115. So just follow the pattern, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. And then you're going to bind off as the stitch presents. And then we will work on the button band, the plackets, and I will show you how to pick up the correct number of stitches for that, as well as how to do the little button holes for the ties. It is now time to work this button band or the placket. For the ties, you can see I have 1, 2, and 3 buttonholes for my ties. So let me show you how to pick up stitches. So for this ribbing portion along the top collar, as well as the bottom hem, let me see if I can, there we go. You're going to pick up 3 stitches for every 4 rows. That's what it works out to be about. And then for stockinette stitch, the main body section, we're going to do 2 stitches for every 3 rows in that section. So you can look to the pattern on figuring out how many stitches to pick up for your size. But that's about what we're going to want to pick up. So let me show you how you're going to do this. You're just going to insert your needle into the corner there and pick up the stitch. And I am using my smaller needle size. So there's 1 into the next row, 2, 3, and now I'm going to skip a row. So I'm going to skip this one and go into this one right here. 1, 2, 3, and then skip a row. 1, 2, 3, and then skip a row. And now when we get to the stockinette portion, again, it's 2 stitches for every 3 rows. So we're going to say, I'm going to skip the next one. So I'm skipping this one, going into this space right here. 1, 2. And then skip, working into this space. 1, 2. So I'm going to continue in this pattern For picking up all the stitches I need to, I'm going to knit one, purl one in the rib one by one. For row 1, row 2 is going to be the same way, and then row 3 we will meet back up where we create the buttonholes for the I-cord ties. I've done rows 1 through 2 on the placket. You can see I'm working in a 1 by 1 ribbing. You can see it right there. So now I need to do the repeat of knit 1, purl 1, 8 times, because the first buttonhole or the I-cord hole is going to be 16 stitches down. So I'm going to do this repeat 8 times, knit 1, purl 1, and that counts as a repeat. So I have done it twice. I have 4 stitches, so I've done it twice. So I'm going to work down. Now that we've done our 8 repeat, we're ready to do our knit 2 together, yarn over, and that's going to create the hole that we need. So I'm going to knit 2 together. So these 2 stitches right here, I'm going to insert my needle under both and treat them as 1 stitch and knit. And then as I am, so now I yarn over as if to knit. You can see I have the strand on my needle now. I'm to a knit stitch in my repeat. So I'm going to knit and purl, and that's the first repeat for the next section. So you can see this is our hole that we made right here. It will be more obvious once we work the next round. So now I'm going to do the repeat 12 times. I'll meet back up when I'm there. So now I'm ready to do my knit 2 together, yarn over again. So let's do it one last time together. So these 2 stitches, I'm going to insert my needle under them and treat them as 1 stitch. And then I'm going to knit them together. That's my knit 2 together. And now I need to do my yarn over. So I'm going to treat it as if to knit. So there's my yarn over. And then I'm going to knit the next stitch. And then purl, and that's my next repeat. So you can see here, this is our knit 2 together that we did, and the yarn over. It will become more apparent in the next row. So the next row, we're going to treat this yarn over as just a regular stitch. You work it as normal, so I'm not going to show you that section. So we will meet back up for the I-cord section. Let's make an I-cord together. So we're going to need to make 3 of these for the ties. So let me show you how to do that. First, we're going to begin by using our double pointed needles, the 3.5 millimeter size 4, and we're going to make a slip knot. And then we're going to cast on 4 stitches. So here's 2, counting my slip stitch, or my slip knot, 3 and 4. Now, as soon as you get the hang of working, so normally you would start and your working yarn would be attached to this top stitch right here. But what we're going to do is we're going to slide down to the other point on our double pointed needles and work this stitch. And then what's going to happen is, since the yarn is attached to the bottom stitch, it's going to pull up and create a tube. And that is how the I-cord is made, because the yarn is pulled from the bottom stitch. So this first stitch, you're going to just knit. And when I take it off my needle, I do usually give it a bit of a little tug, more than I normally would. Working to the second stitch, we're going to knit. Third. And then our last stitch there. And whenever I'm making the I-cord, I always give the tail a little tug, and that helps elongate it and really form the cord. So there's our first row. And again, remember, we're going to slide our stitches down to our other side of the needle. The working yarn is attached to this 4th stitch, but we're going to be working this stitch right here. So working this stitch, I'm going to knit, take it off my needle, give it a little tug, working my 2nd stitch right here, knit 1, so that's knit 2 right here, knit 3, and knit 4. And then give the tail a little tug. You can see it starting to form. Let's do one more row together, moving it down to this side of the needle. I'm going to knit this first stitch, take it off the needle, give it a little tug, knit the 2nd one, knit the 3rd, and knit the 4th. And you're going to do that for this many rows. And you can look to the pattern for further instructions, and I will show you how to bind off. So I am ready to bind off on my I-cord. So to bind off, you just do it normally. You're going to knit that first one, give it a tug, knit the 2nd one, and then pass that first stitch over the 2nd stitch, just like how you normally bind off. Knit the 3rd stitch, pass the 2nd over the 3rd, and then knit that last stitch and pass the 3rd stitch over the last stitch. And then that's how you secure the tail, and then you just weave it in, and then you can pull it through the center of the I-cord, and that will give you a nice clean finish like this. Wait, don't go yet. I have this video right here that I think you'll really like. It's an in-depth review of Wool Ease DK yarn. And I actually have a giveaway of this yarn right now, so you can win free yarn by going over and watching this video. And bonus, you can see my review of this yarn.